We were designed by God to live to 700 to 900 years. And we have to start looking at what's shortening that lifestyle. What is shortening that lifespan for us? Why is that happening?
Hello, everyone, everywhere. This is Bob Thibodeau with the Kingdom Crossroads podcast, and you are listening to the Going North podcast with my good friend Dom Brightman. Be sure to subscribe to his podcast so you will not miss any of the upcoming episodes, and be blessed in all that you do.
I'd like to give a big shout out to my good buddy and friend Gerald Green Jr., a fellow Toastmaster who's also a father of three and a leader in his community. For copying and advance others to advance yourself hoodie. Thank you so much for copying a hoodie from the store. And if you too want to shout out as one of the listeners of this show who cops some merchandise, feel free to take a selfie with you rocking the gear. Shoot it to my email, dombrightman@gmail.com. And you too will receive a shout out on this show when you buy some merch from the goingnorthpodcast.com shop when you get to that site and hit shop. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, the Going North podcast, this is the era of returning guests. My goodness, and today's guest in particular, she's actually one of the top 50 in all of this podcast, and we're like, my God, 550 plus at the time of this recording. And she was episode 202, so she has great, fabulous content, and she just keeps getting better and not butter, folks, because today's returning guest is a speaker, expert meditation instructor, master health activator, America's leading authority on quantum cellular mechanics, and the number one, you heard that right, folks, not the number 3 or number 2, the number 1 brain rejuvenation expert. Let's give it up for the super special awesome JRD herself, Ms. Julie Renee Doering. How you doing today, Julie?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you. With that introduction, I could be nothing but more than amazing. Nothing less than amazing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. She's amazing with a capital A, y'all. That's right. And the capital G, since she's still freaking gorgeous. That's right, indeed.
Thank you.
That's right, folks. That's right. That's right, indeed. Never mind. Let me not go too much down that rabbit hole. So my goodness. I think it's been 2-3 years since you were last on the show. I think it was winter 2019. I think you were last on the podcast.
Yeah, we've had an active few years. We've been on the go. We were evacuated and all kinds of crazy things. So we're now living in Texas. Last time you interviewed me, I was in Carmel, California.
There you go. That's right. From the wonderful sun and caramel to the wonderful flatlands, big state, and barbecue.
Actually, barbecue. I'm in hill country, so there's lots of hills around me and beautiful trees everywhere. It's a gorgeous place to live.
Well, there we go. Indeed. So my goodness, she's been on the move in more ways than one. And if I'm not mistaken, like, my goodness, so.
I don't know who's doing this, but I'm turning red.
Okay, I guess it's not just the lipstick then. Okay, so on top of being on the marvelous move, you just keep studying and getting better and just increasing your wonderful treasure trove of content. And the fact, I think your assistant mentioned that you have this new groundbreaking, that semi-edgy study that actually chakras are bad for you.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, we've been deep diving into chakras. And first of all, I want to say that chakras are so well promoted and everyone believes that it's a luxury experience, that it's going to be really hard to actually change anybody's mind about this. But God did not put those chakras in our body. So that's the first thing to understand, that those chakras were not God created.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, because you're so right. It is so well promoted nowadays. It's become part of the mainstream language for the most part. I mean, 10, 20 years ago, folks are like, chakras. What are you talking about? Naruto? Like, no. You're talking about the wheels of life here.
Well, yeah, I think the chakras, the seers from ancient India saw it, and they assumed that it was part of our organic system. And so they began to teach the science of chakras. And they integrated what the area of the body produced. They integrated that with the chakras they were seeing in those areas of the body. So those areas of the body, like this area just above the belly button, is your will chakra. That's what we call it. But actually, if we uncollapse those two ideas, that is where your will is, not the will chakra. That's where your will is. This was called the heart chakra, this area, because the heart's there. But if we uncollapse it, that's still our center of intelligence for love. So we take the chakra away, and the function that we were assigning to the chakra actually is the function of that area of the body.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So,
Definitely.
yeah,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think I alluded to directly that God didn't create the chakras. And what we discovered was that reptoid, an alien, and serpent created the two major chakras, 4 and 7, that everything builds off of. And there's a whole system of development that happens that's loaded into the DNA. And the chakras develop from a very young infancy, and they're completed at age 7. So you're not born with all your chakras. They develop. They're mechanisms. If you look at them, they're mechanisms. They are really like what we'd call maybe like implants, but they're loaded into our DNA, so they come out. And they were created for nefarious reasons, not lovely, wonderful reasons. And people say, but I have such wonderful experiences when I have a chakra massage or a chakra facial or a chakra meditation. And I'm not denying that you are not having wonderful experiences, but just to understand that the chakras were put in there to harvest our energy, to take energy from us. And over a period of 10 days, it takes 0.07%, so a small amount. But if you think over 10 days, over a long lifetime, they're harvesting energy from us. They can harvest life force. They can harvest light of cell, that's our regeneration ability, prayer, emotion. So a lot is being taken from us in a very minuscule way, so our body continues to survive. But if you think about 0.07% harvested every 10 days of our energy, how that would deplete us. And we were talking about a long life to at least 150 years, but we were designed by God to live to 700 to 900 years. And we have to start looking at what's shortening that lifestyle. What is shortening that lifespan for us? Why is that happening? And this has got to be one of the reasons. So in my research, I had 9 women participate in a retreat, and we spent a day. We removed all the chakras, the whole chakra system and the nadis. So the 7 body chakras and the nadis. And we had phenomenal results. So there's experiences that people have and they don't know what it is, and they might wonder, they might not even wonder, they might just think it's their body. But this sense of or this buzzing sense in the body when you lay down, that's the chakras that they're engaged and they're pulling out energy. That buzzing, you're nodding like you know what that feeling is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I've heard a bit of the chakra talk, and I guess in a way, sometimes if it's a bad day where, well, then
Mhm.
again, not, I wouldn't say a bad day, but a day where I basically overexerted myself, I guess I can feel part of that.
Mhm. The whirling sensation. So the next morning, after we removed the chakras from everybody, so that group of people, the 10 of us, 9 participants and myself, and actually my daughter, I removed the chakras she had before. She's 5, so she doesn't have all her chakras developed. So I've removed the system, so no more will develop. One of the ladies who was in constant chronic pain woke up with no pain, had never in her life experienced that she could remember, probably when she was young, she had no pain. She woke up completely clear, happy and excited. Her body was her own. Everybody had a sensation like there was a weight and an energy in the front of the body that was completely gone. So it just felt like everybody laid down, I laid down, and it was like, whoa. It just felt open and free. And that was the thing, as we were then talking about, what does it feel like now? Open, free, I can breathe better, just feel all around better.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. Wow, so that's interesting. So the chakras don't develop fully when you're a baby, and so what do you think the average age might be for? I believe 8 of them, right? In total, do you think?
7, yeah.
Oh, seven,
7, I
seven.
mean, there are additional systems that say 8 going up over the head. There are 7 body chakras, and some people have a system where there's chakras underneath. And we have 265 nadis. Those are tiny little mini chakras. Those come out as well. If you pull the string, we learned, and this is all God directed, pull, remove 4, and then remove 7, and the rest fall out.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. That's interesting. And I guess it kind of makes sense as you were explaining it, because I mean, bodies don't fully develop until I guess their late teens, early 20s, really.
Well, and the chakras have their own system. So they're done at age 7. So those chakras are done at age 7. So we have our 7 body chakras done at age 7.
Oh, wow. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
one for every year. Huh, interesting. And I guess with the way it was really, huh, because this is very interesting. Especially, I believe it was a reptoid spirit, if I'm
Reptoid.
not mistaken,
Mm-hmm.
that
Yep,
basically caused it to spread, basically over the whole Earth in a way, right?
exactly. All
Huh.
humans. Yep.
Hmm. Okay. All
I
right.
really, I really see this very hand in hand with Lucifer. Like the incredible marketing that's going on for chakras, where people are just really loving their chakras, they're embracing it, they're encouraging them. It's like an unbelievable marketing plan on, let's really embrace something that is actually harming us. And then that comes down to a miasm, or a group mind virus, or mind control, or consciousness control. So the chakras were added 22,000 years ago. Most humans were created 60 to 80,000 years ago. So that was when God created humanity, 60 and 80,000 years ago. And so we have this 22,000 years ago, these nefarious reptoids came in, and we're looking at us as livestock. And they're thinking, how can we harvest the emotional energy, the physical energy from these beings, keep them alive long enough to really get something out of them? So what I'm looking at is that they were entirely looking at us as a possible way of feeding themselves our energy.
Okay.
Sounds horrifying. It does sound horrifying, I know.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that would make a lot of sense because you're so right about the marketing. Because when I first heard about this other viewpoint from all your research you've done, when you try to look up "Are Chakras Bad for You?" like first really 5 to 10 pages of Google, and most
Right.
folks don't even go past page 1, you really don't find anything bad about it. It's like almost a massive amount of just so much information preach about the good about it. You never hear the actual alternate view of what it actually really is.
Right. And I think that starts, well, I think in the 60s and 70s, the West was really enamored with the East, and people went on their pilgrimages to the East, understanding that I don't think anybody asked, where did this come from? The seers from ancient India saw them. They saw them. They were beautiful. And if you look at drawings of the chakras, they're very mechanical. They don't look organic. They look like they were designed like a mechanism. Beautiful colors, but each of them has a very specific design. That's a mechanism. That's not what God made. So I think that's one thing to just be paying attention to, is that, first of all, they didn't ask, did God create this? They saw them and they designed a science around what they could see. and not believing that something was in their system that was so lovely that would be harming them or used for a nefarious purpose. And then I think the other thing that's a little bit difficult to comprehend is if you could think 10 days, 0.07% harvesting energy, that's a very small amount of energy. So it might even be missed. You know what I'm saying? They might not even have seen that there was a nefarious purpose for it, but rather we're just really excited about this discovery and then bringing it into human consciousness. Then we have the onset of the hippie era, where people went to India and they meditated and they became one with their chakras and their kundalini and whatever. And so they brought that back. And I think actually, I think the baby boomers were the ones who really brought the chakras back. I think in the 50s, chakras would not have been accepted particularly. I think we had a traditional straight lace, Christian Judaic culture that the chakras were too weird. But after the 60s and 70s, all these baby boomers who went for enlightenment and came back and then introduced it and found marketing ways, I'm sure with the help of the aliens, to, bring this in. And, you look at, there's a whole science of chakra and aromatherapy and chakra and stones and chakra massage. And there's just everything you can imagine that has been developed. And I'm sure lots and lots of people are making lots and lots of money on selling their chakra, whatever services.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because my goodness, especially nowadays, you walk into a Barnes and Noble and all these other big bookstores and whatever. Like, there's
Yeah.
all this stuff that can be a little woo-woo for a lot of people, especially with the tarot. Like tarot's so mainstream now, almost it seems, and all these other esoteric things that you wouldn't expect like 10, 20 years ago, even that would really kind of stay hidden somewhere in the corner.
Right. Yeah. So, but I think they've done it as they've been bringing it in as a luxury. So people want to do something that's a luxury. They want to do something that's good for their spirit and soul, especially during this 2-year siege of lockdowns and all the things that people get worried about. But um, people want to do something good for themselves, and so they think, this is a luxury experience. I'm going to learn about this, and I'm going to integrate that into my world.
Great point right there. Great point
Yeah,
right there. Just like, yeah, luxury, especially. And I love the word siege because it kind of feels that way at this point with everything going on. So you're so right
yeah,
about that.
yeah, yeah. Well, I could go off on that, but I know we have a chakra conversation going on here. But yeah,
Mm.
I think I think that people do want to heal themselves, and I think the way to do that is to cleanse and purify. And anything that's been added to the system, I'm going to say, is not going to be good. I think God created us perfectly, whole, perfect, and complete. I am created in God's image. I am powerful beyond measure. I am whole, perfect, and complete. And the things that have been added to us, we have to ask, what is their purpose? And people say, well, I'm going to go off on a different tangent because I think chakra technology is very much like nanotechnology, and nanotechnology is in so much. And people go, I feel so good. I just feel so wonderful. I had the most blissful experience with this nanotechnology or virtual reality or whatever. And I'm going to
Yeah.
say, all right, yes, I'm not saying that it doesn't make you feel good, but so heroin makes you feel really good too, right? I mean, it's,
Mm-hmm.
you become addicted to something, you become dependent on something like nanotechnology. Never, I had a lady go, never ever going to be without this pillow. It was a nanotechnology pillow that would comfort her and make her pain go away. And so she was holding the pillow all the time. And she brought it in my house and I said, you need to take it right back outside, please. I don't want that in my house. But understand that if you have little mites marching around in your body, making you feel less pain, there's something wrong, meaning your body will never be able to do that for yourself. And better
Mm.
to clear the pain than to let something take over. And on the idea of it feels so good, yeah, a lot of narcotics probably feel so good, you know, but you know that it's going to break down your body over time. So maybe you want to be on narcotics because it feels so good. And you had the most amazing experience and you went to heaven and it was psychedelic and whatever. Understand that that shortens your life and it takes you away from, I've had some, I don't know if they're called psychedelic experiences, but I've had some incredibly blissful, out of this world experiences with my meditation. And I think that that's an opportunity to get high through prayer and meditation, singing, and, you know, bringing that natural wholeness, wellness, purity, truth into the body. And I guess I'm getting to be a purifier. We devoted last year to purity and truth. The year before was to light. This year is to life. And so everything that is going to enhance our life, we're going to be focusing on in the academy. But purity and truth, it's now become the foundation of everything. We measure everything by, is it pure and is it true? Is it of God? Was it the original blessing? So we always want to be looking at that.
Uh, I love it indeed. I love it indeed. That even goes back to one of the earlier points you made about the whole chakra thing, where folks in the West got so enamored with so many Eastern teachings and philosophies that look good and it feels good. And the problem with that is, yeah, it feels good in the moment, but at the same time, you have to consider the aftermath and the long-term effects. So we just have to really ask ourselves and look deeper into things and ask ourselves, hey, is this thing that make me feel good, is it truly good for me?
Yeah. I think, I think people do lots of things that make them feel good. I think binge watching,
Oh yeah.
is some sitting on social media or just surfing the web for long periods of time. I don't know, people love that. Um, is it helping you? I I don't think so.
Nah.
I think you're losing your intelligence. When you sit and binge watch, you're telling your brain you don't need it to work. And so two of the brain waves shut down. You only have one brain wave awake that's kind of going through this journey. And you're not telling your brain, I need to solve problems, I need to create. And so IQ goes down, 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 down. Brilliant people sitting binge watching for, months and years on end are not brilliant people anymore. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. It's so darn true. So true indeed. And speaking of intelligence going down, your intelligence has been going up. And a question I love to ask guests when they come back
I hope so.
Well, I'm sure it is with all this wonderful teaching you've been doing.
Oh my gosh.
Especially since all the content you have, it's not all out there for everybody to devour so easily. I still remember your Divine Human Blueprint. Like that was 600 out of what, 1,000 total pages it was going to be. So
Yeah. It was like half the book. I had a whole bunch of chapters. My publisher said, you're, stupid. You should not make that big of a book. Nobody is going to buy that big of a book. But the funny thing is, I will say it's a good seller. It's not a bestseller. It's a bestseller on our site. But people who read the book will read it 4 or 5 times through. So they'll read that 600 pages like 4 or 5 times through because there are 1,000 miracles in there. And it gives people hope and inspiration, gives people really tangible notions about how they are designed and what they can do to help themselves. So not only do I tell about a technique and how to do it, but I also show 3 miracles for each one of those techniques. So people have that confidence that they're embracing something that's really, there's like a hypnotism going on right now, that miracles and the miracle of our unique body that has its own unique miraculous way of healing itself doesn't exist. People need to go to a doctor and get a drug to deal with whatever their problem is, but we have a miraculous system. God gave us a miraculous system. And I think when we think about this, we didn't come with an owner's manual. So that means that God wanted us to engage. God wanted us to connect with him and engage. And I think this particular book is a particularly inspiring book because I engaged with God. I learned some of what God has to say about how we regenerate generate how we create miracles, and I put it in words. I have 12 books. I don't know if you realize. I have a lot of books. And
Oh
hundreds of
yeah.
articles. Yeah, there's hundreds of articles on my blog. So
Oh,
I write. Yeah.
that's right. That's right indeed. Full of knowledge indeed. So what skills have you been sharpening in the past 3 years or so? Because you've had these wonderful themes, and I believe you said
Yeah.
2022, this is the year of life, if I'm not mistaken,
Life.
right?
Yeah. Well, I feel like this was a real year of waking up, and actually a couple of years. So I would say the level of what I'm doing is much deeper than what I've been doing before, and it's not just with humanity. So I'm working with the angels, and there have been all kinds of things that have happened to the angels, including terrible things. And I'm doing massive restorations with the angelic community. I think that's huge. 2 years ago, when we started this dedicated to, so 2 years ago it was light, and then last year was purity and truth. 2 years ago, when we tested just an energetic test, we could see that Lucifer had 90% influence and authority on the earth, 96%.
Mm.
Today, because of the work that I've been doing, he's got zero, zero. Now, that doesn't mean that he doesn't influence people who worship him, but we've taken if you test it and you test it in the way I tested, he's at zero. So we are removing Lucifer's reign on the planet. Where I test that we'll start seeing it is 19 months from now, and 3 years from now, it should be really largely seen. So understanding there's always a little bit of a time delay with the quantum work, because you're shifting something, a reality on a physical level, and that has to take some time. Shifting it energetically, it has to take a little bit of time to integrate. So I think the first signs of that evidence of we've done that will be in 19 months. But I've seen a lot of things shifting. It does feel like there's so much going on the planet, and understand that all of the bad stuff that's been going on has been going on a long, long, long time. And people are finally being able to see it, and it's being uncovered. So one of the things God showed me was 4 years ago, I did an earth healing, and we kept removing all the curses from the earth. And we had like 500 people, and we worked and worked and worked. And we were able to, because we had people from 84 countries, we were able to remove all the curses, all the demonic, satanic curses from the earth. And guess what? Last year, we really started seeing it last year, is all these tunnels for the underground child trafficking and drug trafficking and female trafficking and all this stuff. All these tunnels were beginning to be exposed. And God showed me that as we removed the curses from the earth, that this could be in the light, that we could see this. And I think that we are in a really powerful time where all of this is being revealed to us, that we're in shock a lot of the times when if you're listening and you're hearing what's going on, you're in shock. You're like, I can't believe all this is going on. But it's been going on a long, long time, and we can now see it. We worked the last 2 years really on discernment and clarity, and being able to see not through the filter of misinformation, which is so much of media is misinformation, but being able to see with God's eyes, and being able to actually understand and comprehend what is in front of us. What are we looking at? What does it mean? And I feel a lot of nudges from God every time I'm teaching a class or talking about look this way and look that way, even things that I wouldn't think to look in that direction. So I'm constantly being shown this and that. And I feel like just in the way that we're removing the chakras, we're also removing the evil and maleficness from the planet. And 2 years ago, God gave me a 10-year assignment, and I'm 2 years into it. And sometimes I look at the amount of things that we've done, and it's mind-blowing. And the amount of things that are in front of us, I only get to see like 20 things in front of us. I don't get to see the 4,000 things in front of us, because I
Yeah.
think I would be just like completely overwhelmed if I actually saw everything that was going to be asked of me that we would do and that I would do. But I am here to serve, and I'm very honored that God and the angels have decided to give me these assignments. And I'm really happy to serve my community and help this earthly community to come into the light. And one of my students asked me 2 days ago, when is this going to be over, this horrible pandemic? And, all these, and we have people in Australia that are completely locked down. And we have a lot of people around the world that are really suffering. We're in Texas, we're not suffering too much. And I said, it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. It might be 3 to 5 years before it's really over. And I wish I could give more hope than that. But I would say that when we're in a time of compression and struggle, that's a time when God opens his heart and ideas to us so that we can more deeply connect with God, and we can grow our spiritual nature, we can grow our emotional nature. So this is a beautiful time. I had said, I had a long day. Well, I start my day at 4:30 with meditation and then exercise and prayer. And then my daughter is up running around, and I have a 5-year-old special daughter. And so this is a time for that. When we're going through an oppressed period, we will grow massively internally if we allow it. When things are going along so easygoing and happy, do we take the time to make sure that we're doing all those things? Some people do, but I think that this is God's way of saying, I want to be close to you. I want to be closer to you. All you have to do is just open your heart a little bit and, take some of the actions. One of the ladies this morning in my mastery program and the Ignite program asked me, she said, I pray, but I just start praying and then my mind starts wandering. And I have access to hearing the archangels. And Gabriel said to us, pray on your knees. Pray, get on your knees and pray. And, I found that to be true. On my knees, my mind doesn't wander. That's the position. Get on your knees. If you want to be successful in prayer, get on your knees, get down on your knees and pray. So I think we're in a time where we can grow incredibly. We have an opportunity to contribute in ways that we wouldn't otherwise. So we're thinking about all the people in need and the people who are suffering. And I also think we're praying all the time for the leaders. And in a way, we're asking that the leadership that is malefic, that is influenced by the reptilians and serpents, that they move out of power and out of support. And those are the celebrities too that are really doing evil work. So it's an opportunity to pray for the planet, pray that they wake up to their humanity, and not blame or shame, but just keep looking at how do we successfully navigate this period that looks so oppressive, but is really an opportunity for us to really be freer than we've ever been as humanity, angels together.
Love it indeed, love it indeed. And I will say, like, the thing about 2020, even though the pandemic did appear, it did force a lot of things to be revealed. And it's a good thing that those tunnels for child trafficking and women
Yeah.
trafficking, all that evil negative stuff was actually revealed and actually gotten taken care of, because it's so darn true and you're so darn right. It's like heck, even with social media, it has its good and bad parts, but the good parts is it's like, hey, it gives folks a chance to spread more information out there, like, hey, this was happening for such a long time and hey, now it's finally getting taken care of. So definitely love that. So my goodness, a 10-year vision and a plan from God. So this is definitely going to be a decade of awesomeness for you. So is there a
Yeah.
question that you wish you'd be asked more often when you're in the wonderful guest side of the game on the microphone on these interviews?
Oh, no, I can't think of. I love my home.
There you go.
I moved to a new home. I think creating a beautiful environment is really important for doing God's work. I think that God wants us to celebrate and live beautifully. So really excited about my beautiful daughter Adelia, who's 5, and she's doing really well in her athletics. And I see her as a leader very differently than me. And the one thing I do all the time in every gathering is pray for the children on the planet, because there's a lot of children that are in trouble and a lot of children need help. And so And that's my big mission.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Because, yep, the kids definitely are going to need help, especially as the inheritance time comes when they have to inherit all the stuff that's coming down the pipeline that doesn't get taken care
Right.
of.
Right. So that's our job to clean it up. We're the
Yeah.
guardians. We're the guardians of the planet. All of you who are listening are guardians of the planet. That's our responsibility to make this a beautiful, beautiful world for generations to come.
That's right, indeed. Well, a fun random question for you that I've been loving to ask guests recently. So, if your wonderful book, Your Divine Human Blueprint, was a food item, what would it be and why?
Oh, well, hmm. Well, I hope I don't offend any vegetarians, but it would be steak and potatoes with broccoli. I mean, it's like the deepest level of fulfillment, the protein, the starch, and the nutrients that, make the body healthy. It's it's the meat and potatoes for sure.
There we go. Meat potatoes, definitely. Because I definitely need to get pick up that book. Because I think I only got 2 out of 12 so far. So yeah, and that one's a
Okay.
nice hefty one too. So definitely got to pick it
It's
up. It's
a
meat and
hefty
potatoes,
one,
y'all.
but it's a fun read, and you don't have to read it all at once, which is nice. You can actually open and read and be inspired, or you can read a chapter and then read it a month later. But most people who start it, like I said, they'll read it all the way through and then they'll want to read it again and again.
Ah,
But understand that I feel very aligned with God, and I feel very purposeful and very purpose driven. So I understand that it'll be hard to swallow chakras being bad for you. There's lots of other things that are bad for you, and I understand I'm going against the flow and the big marketing that's going on. So I get it. But if you're willing to engage with God, you'll get an affirmation that that's true.
there we go. There we go. Be willing to engage with God, y'all. That's right. That's right, indeed. So, out of respect for your time, I'm just going to give you 2 more questions and you can make a run for it.
Okay.
So, since this is round 2 and you published 12 books, and I'm pretty sure you probably got some more in the future, I imagine, is there anything that you would do different with all the knowledge you have today if you were to publish your first ever book again?
No, I really like what I did. I was signed by a big publisher, a big publishing agent, and there was a big new age company that wanted to represent me. And then they said that they would own my rights to my book. And I made a decision that I didn't want anyone to own the rights of what I wrote. And I felt like that was also God aligned. And so I went through and I've self-published all of my books. And to me, that was important that I owned the right, so I could keep it published 50 years, 100 years from now, I can keep publishing it. Where if they decided, oh, we're done, it didn't make enough money for us, and then they stopped publishing it, the people who needed that information wouldn't get it. And we, like I said, we have people in 84 countries. That English is maybe their third language sometimes, and they're getting my book. So, understanding that we want to make it available to those people. And I understand my classes aren't gigantic. Like you'd think that the information that I'm bringing out might have thousands of people lining up. I mean, we know how to remove cancer from the body. We know a lot of stuff, and I teach it. But we have the people who can live on the edge in prayer, and also understanding that reality is not necessarily reality. What we've been sold, hook, line, and sinker of this is real, this is real, this is reality, and what we've been told isn't always true. As a matter of fact, much of what we've been told and much of how we've been led hasn't been down the path of purity and truth, hasn't been down the path of light and life. It's been down a path of harm. And now everything we're weighing on, does this support life? Is this from a pure place? Is this from a true place? So to answer the book question, I would do it exactly the same way, self-published. Hold on to your
Ah,
rights.
Amen to that. That's right. That's what I'm pun intended. Wow. That's right. See?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Keep your rights, indeed. Because you're so right about that, because it's so true. Because a self published book, if it's something that you own, it can continue to be published no matter what if there's a dry spell for a month. But hey, folks are still going to need it down the road. And sometimes folks need to catch up to some information that may be not so new to you, but is totally new to them.
Yeah. Yeah, it actually even we might take a chapter out of one of the books and add that to one of the classes so that the students can not necessarily have to buy the whole book, but can learn from the chapter that's most important for them to learn from. And that holding on to rights lets you do
Ah, yeah, that's right. It's all about being right all day at this point.
that. Right. Exactly. Do you know where rights come from? Do you know who gives us right?
Oh, no, inform me.
God. We have right, we have permission, we have ability. The only thing that comes from God is right. We were born with the right of children of God, and that's everything. We have the right for everything.
I like it. I
Yeah.
like it indeed. Genesis goodness indeed. That's right. That's right indeed. Made in his powerful image. I love it. I love it indeed. Love it indeed. Sweet. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive for round two, especially. So you're called to give a keynote for a good 90 minutes, but your entire audience is going to be all 8 billion people on Earth. What would that message be? And what would the main points of that message entail?
I would want to help people stop blaming each other. I think we we can't live together until we're compassionate with each other. And when you're pointing a finger, you lose the opportunity to love. And the thing I was just talking to one of my sessions this afternoon was a gal who um, was having a little challenge, and there was some conflict. And she was like, I don't know how to deal with this. It was with her mom. And I said, we have to take on that we're the guardians of the planet and that our parents didn't necessarily have the ability or the information to know how to love us in a generous way. And so you take on being the guardian, you take on being the parent, you take on being the wise elder. Really, it's the wise elder. And you say, they didn't have the capacity, they didn't understand, they didn't know. And when you can leave that room, there's room for healing. And you don't walk around with a wounded heart and this energy that has people feeling bad about themselves because or bad about you because the energy isn't right between them. Because you've got compassion and you've got an understanding heart that says, it's all right. It's all right. I'm not perfect either. I know that's one of the things I say fairly often when people go, how can you forgive? Say, we all make lots of mistakes every day. We don't even know. I mean, with the best intentions in the living the best life, we're making mistakes left and right.
Yep, it's true. It's true. And driving can be an example of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. All the good intentions indeed. And being compassionate to our fellow humans indeed. Definitely love it. Definitely love it indeed. So my
Yeah.
goodness.
I think
Go
if we
ahead.
ended blame, we would just have a whole completely different world. People would be able to listen to each other. Because with blame, you can't listen to the other person. The person who's blaming can't listen to that person. The person who's being blamed can't hear the other person either. It's just a big chasm.
Ah, that's right. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. So avoid the blame game, y'all. That's right. Don't open that chasm. You don't want to fall in. Probably might even be deeper than Death Valley and the Grand Canyon combined, y'all. That's right. Might be huge.
Yeah, it is. It's a vacuumless, bottomless pit if you're in the blame game because you'll never connect.
Oh yeah, that's right indeed. That's right. I'll never connect indeed. Even with a K, you'll probably never connect. That's right. Oh man, but I do know it's okay and beyond okay. It's all of your wonderful offerings and the work you keep doing to help out the folks on the good blue planet Earth. So, for those who want to keep in contact with you and all the stuff you're doing, what's the best way for folks to do so?
I have a big website, julierenee.com. It's easy to navigate. You go to events, you can see what classes I'm teaching. I'm teaching everything online pretty much right now. I do a yearly retreat that's in person, but it's been a little bit challenging with the craziness on the planet. So julierenee.com. And I do contribute sometimes to Rumble. I have the same channel, Julie Renee. So that's on Rumble. So once in a while, I put something up that's really interesting.
Oh yeah. That's right. There might even be some fabulous roses on that Rumble. That's right indeed.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Metaphorically, of course, probably. Oh man, but yes indeed. Head over to julierenee.com. Check out all the wonderful stuff that she does and is continually doing on Earth. She is a freaking Jill of all trades because my goodness, she has meditations and wonderful songs because she sings too and she plays the harp as well. So we got a wonderful multi-talented woman on the podcast back in for round 2, y'all. So definitely check it out indeed because it's great stuff. Share with your friends, family. Heck, share with a penguin and a camel, y'all. It'll be good stuff. They could use it too. That's right indeed. But if you see around the chameleon, don't share with the chameleon. There might be another reptile that is causing evil, y'all. Just share with the penguins and the camels, especially the camel hump. So any parting words before we close up shop, Julie?
Oh, I just want to tell all of you who are listening that if you're going through a hard moment, and you probably can't be because Dom is so fun, but if you are going through a hard moment, know that you are loved and cherished and appreciated and seen. And even if you feel invisible, you are not. And your being here matters. And I care about you. And I'm so grateful that you joined us today and that you had an opportunity to share some time with us. Even if we talked about ideas that you think I'm whacked with, I just really appreciate you. I love and appreciate you. I see you as one of God's beautiful creation. And I'm grateful that you were here. And Dom, thank you so much for having me back and for all the silliness and joy that you bring into the world and the inspiration and just the entertainment that you bring to people. People need you, and I appreciate you.
Thanks a bunch for tuning in and setting aside some of your time to listen to this wonderful podcast, Going North. If you really enjoyed what you heard, do me a solid and share this with your network and someone that you care about that would get something out of it too. And be sure to subscribe to hear more, and heck, even check out the backlog if you would like, because there are hundreds of episodes to choose from, and they just keep getting better and not butter.